Hello everyone, welcome to the important Hindu articles for June 24, 2021. Let us begin with the first article. The first article that you have to read today is Banks gets asset worth 8,441 crore from Enforcement Directorate. The second article is Modi to meet J&K leaders today, though it may seem important, but until and unless we don't know what the outcome of that meeting is, this article is irrelevant. The second article that you have to concentrate a bit in terms of to understand statistics is the Kerala capital bucks exceed death trend. Just to have a comparison for writing mains answers, that is a good article. Moving on, nothing much in the city itself, the city edition. We need to have certain, coming to the northeast part of the newspaper, you have to read Assam's two-child policy. Not in terms of the pushback it is, this article states, but what the internal details of the Assam two-child policy and why they are adopting this particular policy. Moving on, the next article that you have to read is we will hold exams for classes 11 and 12, says Andhra Pradesh. This article becomes important because the statement made by justices of the court against the state government. And that's it. You see a clear case of the executive butting heads with the judiciary. Moving on, coming to the editorial part, the Kashmir outreach and the Afghan storm. This is a particularly important article that gives you an understanding of what the regional complexities involved in finding a solution for Jammu and Kashmir and Aksai Chin. Please do concentrate on this article more than any other. The second is the gender gap technology has to end. This editorial is important because you get a dichotomy of what the gender gap in digital divide is and how important is to fill that gap and how fast we should be filling that gap. These are the two editorials that you have to concentrate. The rest, though they might look important, but I suggest you forego them. Coming to the news, the first article that you have to read in page number 8 is HC declines Facebook WhatsApp fresh plea. Understand who is taking action here, which institution is taking action against this. That is important for prelims point of view, and what law is being invoked to take action against these social media companies. Those are the two important aspects. Coming to the next article, IAF Navy match skills with US team. You have to understand what are exercises, why are exercises conducted between multiple countries involving militaries, and what is IOR region, and what is a passage exercise, and what is a transition or a transit in IOR. You have to understand the military dynamics and military language of this particular article. Moving on to the same tones, China raising new units near border. So what are the units that China is raising? What are the implications on Indian national security and border security? And does India have similar units that operate with Indian Army? So for comparison, study about the Special Frontier Force that Indian Army has and compare it with the new army units that China is bringing up. In the similar line, Jaishankar flags close-up deployments. So what are these close-up deployments that he is talking about? And again, you have to read this article to understand what is the stance of the government and what are the implications of raising of these deployments and what are the agreements that India and China have in terms of troop deployment in border areas, that is LAC. Now moving to the next article, EC speeding up delimitation process. Again, yesterday we talked about what is delimitation process. You have to understand why delimitation process is important and who is doing it and why are we doing it in Jammu and Kashmir. For writing mains answer for prelims, you have to understand what are the laws for delimitation process and what are the legal aspects of delimitation process. Moving on, coming to the next page number 10, 63.2 lakh people get vaccine shots. Again, the statistics are important. The second is government taking steps for jobs for those with no ID proof. Again, this is important in terms of understanding the policy of it and ensuring that vaccines reach everybody. That is how you understand and interpret this article. This is the most interesting article out of all the news articles today, leaving out the editorial. Grey matter loss seen after COVID-19. You read this article in perspective of biology and science in terms of understanding What are the long term effects of having COVID-19? This is very helpful in writing answers for mains from the biology perspective. Moving on to the business aspect of it. Yeah, in the world there isn't much to talk about, but understand the China prepares for CPC centenary events. China is going to celebrate the 100th year where the communist ruling party of China was founded, the 100th founding anniversary of CPC. You understand what CPC is, when it was founded, you understand what are the principles of Communist Party of China, and what are the initial principles of Communist Party of China, and what are the current principles of Communist Party of China under Xi Jinping. The important aspect is what are the statements that Xi Jinping is going to make at the plenary that is going to be conducted to celebrate the founding day of Communist Party of China. So moving on to the business, state not prudent in reopening as vaccination rates are still low. This is for answer writing to get a perspective of how economists and scientists observe vaccination drive and they leverage it with economic activity and the state health. So moving on, Center for the EASES norms for voice based BPOs. You just have to understand what were the earlier norms and what are the relaxed norms. As far as that, you are good to go. So this is the next important article in the business section of Hindu today. High raw material prices threaten survival of MSMEs. You need to read this article to understand what are the input costs and what are the output costs, and you have to add it with how MSMEs are important for the recovery of Indian economy post pandemic. So the next article that you have to read today is household saving fell to 8.2% of GDP in Q3 for year 21. You need to understand what is the household ratio to household savings ratio to GDP and why that percentage is important and how it will help or how critical is it for the recovery of economy. See, post pandemic you have to read most of it in terms of what is the impact of it that it is going to have on the Indian economy and how it is going to aid the Indian economy. The final article that you have to read for today is CCI probes Google for unfair business practices. Again, who is conducting the investigation? Which organization, which institution is conducting the investigation? What is the law applicable? What are the sections applicable for prelims perspective? Mains, forget about it. For prelims, you need to know this. Thank you. Namaste. Stay safe.